Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Today we are going to make a traditional Irish soda bread. It's going to be loaded with caraway and raisins in it. Irish soda bread, very quick to make, very easy to make, but they always come out very different. If you like a nice moist one, this is a good recipe for you. Some taste like cake, some are like a bread. I want to say this is in between, but definitely some moistness in there. Okay, so I think you will enjoy this. I'll give you some tips how to make it come out really good, and just please watch. And I am going to take 2 cups of flour, just nice and level. Just like that. Any all-purpose flour would be fine for this. Then 1 tablespoon of sugar. Make sure you do put that sugar in, because that is what is going to give you the moistness in the bread, and it actually gives it the crust, the body of the Irish soda bread. Okay. We're going to take 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Just like that. Make sure it's nice and level. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So you have the combination of the baking soda and baking powder. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. The salt will just bring out the flavors in this. And just to the 1/2. Yep, perfect. Now what you want to do is just take a wire whisk, just mix this around. And with this recipe, you want the butter to be very cold. So I just took this out of the refrigerator. You can even put it in the freezer just for a few minutes. And you need 1/4 of a stick. So that is just taking a 1/2 of a stick. I always like to use unsalted butter, because with unsalted butter, what you are doing is you're starting with no butter at all. Okay, so we are just going to crumble this into the mixture. You could grate this with a food grater, but a 1/4 stick, it's not too much, so you'll be done pretty quick with this. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to take this butter and I'm going to add this to the flour mixture. And then what I'm doing is I'm just crumbling this until the butter is kind of like pea-sized. Okay, it's almost like a coarse meal. And when this is where you can't really feel the butter anymore, I'm going to add in the raisins and the caraway seeds to this. Now with this bread, you want to bake it in a 375 oven for about 50 minutes. And you put it bring the lowest rack up 1 notch, and then you're going to take a sheet of aluminum foil and put it on the rack above. And that will prevent it from getting too dark too quickly. And at the end, if you see like about 10 minutes before it's done, if you say, I like it a little more brown, or just take that aluminum foil away and it will finish it off. Okay? But you don't want it to get too brown too quickly. So I'm just trying to get this again to coarse crumbs. And then I'm going to add in my raisins. And you could always put extra in if you want. I put in a 1/3 cup, and I put in 1½ tablespoons of the caraway seeds. Okay, just about there. I also do a Irish molasses raisin bread. I have an Irish biscuit class as well. And so please look for those at some of the classes that I do. Okay, so this is perfect just like this. 1½ tablespoons of caraway. If you are a caraway fan, you could certainly add a little bit more. And if you're not a caraway fan, you could add less or none at all. But traditionally, they'll have some caraway in there. Okay, so we're just going to mix that around well. And now a 1/3 cup of the raisins. And if you go a little heavier on them, just great. Give that a good toss. Make sure it's mixed up really well. Okay, perfect. Now at this point you want to use your buttermilk. You're going to use 1 full cup of the buttermilk. So just take the buttermilk, give it a good shake because it's usually thicker on the bottom. To really shake that really good. Now I always get the question, can I use or make my own buttermilk? You certainly can make your own buttermilk. It is 1 tablespoon of either vinegar or lemon juice to 1 cup of milk, and you let it sit for 5 minutes and it will sour the milk. But honestly, there is nothing like the store-bought buttermilk. Okay, so if you want it to come out really, really exceptionally well, buy this. There's so many things that you can do with buttermilk. You can make dressings. You can marinate chicken in it to soften the chicken for fried chicken or baked fried chicken. So there's a lot of ways to use up buttermilk. I make a buttermilk basil dressing with it, so you can Google it. And it's not expensive. Okay, so at this point, don't go back in with your hands, because if you go back with your hands, you're going to have everything all over your hands. Just take a wooden spoon or something that you have to mix with, and just mix this just until there is no dry ingredients around. So you're getting all that wetness all combined. It's going to be a very heavy, sticky dough, and then we're going to put it out on the cutting board or the table surface, whatever you want to use. Okay, we're just going to take a little bit of flour, put that on your working surface. Just need a little bit. Want to make sure there's no flour or any dry ingredients remaining at the bottom of the bowl. This is a very wet and kind of sticky. So what you do, put it on the flour, toss it around just like that, and now knead it for about 30 seconds. Not hard at all. You're just getting the ingredients all combined. Okay, so after 30 seconds, we're going to stop. And this will come out very, very well for you. This freezes excellent. This will freeze a good 2 months, okay, and stay very well. All right. It is always very good the first day, of course, and then after the first day, it'll lose it a touch and lose it a little more, like any baked good would. Okay? Okay, so the way I always tell everybody, build this up pretty high, just like this. Okay? Make it almost look like a softball. You can kind of see how high that is, like that. So the higher you can get it, the better. And you want it pretty high for when it goes in the oven. Now, what we're going to do is just put a little X across it, a little cross. And in Ireland, they believe when you put a little X across this, that it would keep the devil away. Okay? So, we are going to put this on a baking sheet. You want to use either parchment paper or the silicone baking mats. I'm going to lift this dough just like this, put it in the center. And now remember, I'm going to lift the rack from down below in the oven, put it up 1 notch, and then I am just going to take a sheet of aluminum foil and put it on the rack above, and then that direct heat does not go on to the Irish soda bread. And it will be nice and golden brown, but if you feel like you need it browner, about 5-10 minutes before it's done, just take that foil away and it will finish getting brown. Okay? But most likely you will not need to take this away. So we're going to put this in our oven, and 50 minutes it will be done. So our beautiful Irish soda bread is complete. Look at that. It's so good. You could feel that it goes down just a little bit, so it is very moist inside. This is so homemade. You can freeze this, but it will not get into the freezer because you will eat it before it gets in there. So I hope you have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. Stay well, everybody. Thank you for watching.